that we need to have, things like that. And then from there, I'd like to take a look at what resources we're going to be using. So we are going to be using the Cambridge University Press textbook, the blue one that I used with both of you guys for your A levels, okay? For your AS. So we are going to be using that, but we're also going to be using a bunch of websites, and so I will be sending you websites as we go and giving you that information as we go. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
Okay. So let me quickly.
Yeah. Question about the blue textbook.
Yes.
I don't know anything about the blue textbook.
Okay, so you know the textbook that is on your AS English class?
Yeah.
That's the same textbook. It's just our. Yeah, we just did. That's the textbook. Okay. Let me actually put that textbook on here now so that you guys all have it. Because I don't know if you still have it. Pew. Get. Cool. So that is all sorted. Let me quickly open our skills that we need. Ugh, this is the wrong syllabus. Sorry, guys. I think it's this one. Yes, it is this one. Okay. If I do that one, it should do the thing. Okay, I'm going to share my screen. So, what we've got here, this is our syllabus. You both are familiar with our paper 1 and our paper 2 content, right?
Yeah.
So, paper 1 is our reading, paper 2 is our writing, and then paper 3 and paper 4 are language analysis and language topics. Okay, so paper 3 goes much more in depth on the analysis, and we're not just analyzing the language form and structure, but we're analyzing really in depth what calls this, like how is the language being used. There is a specific way that language is being used, and why is it being used this way in terms of the history of the language, and is this word more used today than it was a while ago, or is it less used today? Why has the usage of the word declined? Stuff like that. Okay? So I just want to scroll down here. I have...
What did you say paper 3 and 4 were about? Sorry.
Okay. They are... Are you feeling better though, Ethan? Are you still sick?
Yeah, mostly, yeah.
Okay. So paper 3 is language analysis, and paper 4 is language topics. Okay. So before we get into this, I just remembered I made notes this morning that I wanted to tell you guys. I wanted to actually create like a thing for you, but I forgot as always. I'm just looking for it. Okay, so I'm going to be looking at two types of skills, right? The one type is, or actually, let me first go through this because otherwise I'm going to jump around too much. Okay, so every subject, every A-level subject has key concepts, okay? So these, we didn't explore this so much when we were doing our AS exams because like I explored them on the go, on the fly. But I wanted to just cover here, what we've got here is our key concepts are text and context, meaning and style, audience, creativity, diversity, and change. Now, audience you would be aware of from AS, meaning and style, we explored that in depth. Text and context, we explored that in depth. We do explore it more here. Creativity, we explored in depth. But here we've got the diversity and change. These are, I do explore this with you a lot, but I explore it a lot more in A-levels. Okay. So, want to just go here. Okay, so here are our assessment objectives. So our assessment objectives, if we look at paper 3 and paper 4, paper 3 is AO1, AO2, AO4, and AO5. And paper 4 is AO1, AO2, and AO4. Okay. So what happened in paper 1 and 2, we don't have any AO4 or AO5. Okay. So we are going to need to know for paper 3 and paper 4, we're going to need to know A1, 2, 4, and 5. Now, number 3, we've got analyze the ways in which writers and speakers twist the form, structure, and language produce meaning and style. We do not explore this at all in paper 3 or paper 4. Okay? It is not assessed. Okay. So, what is assessed? Read and demonstrate an understanding of a wide variety of texts. So you need to be well read. You need to be doing extracurricular reading. Write effectively, creatively, accurately, and appropriately for a range of audiences and purposes. So your writing needs to be like good. Really needs to be good. It needs to you need to be able to adjust your writing for the different questions. And you need to make sure that you are using the correct tone. You need to make sure that you are expressing yourself fully so that whoever's reading what you're writing is understanding and fully grasping what you're trying to say, so that you don't have this thing of, oh, but I was trying to say. If you ever find yourself saying, oh, but I was trying to say after you've written something, the fact that you were trying to say it and the person reading it does not understand it that way probably means that you did not say it that way, even though you were trying to say it that way. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
So then AO4 and AO5, these are our new components. Demonstrate an understanding of linguistic issues, concepts, methods, and approaches. Tell me quickly, what does linguistic mean?
is it just actually I can't tell you now.
Ethan?
Your language.
Pardon?
being used, the language being used.
Yes, linguistic is
grammar.
yes, that's correct. So, but it's not just grammar. It's
No.
if we're looking at linguistic issues, concepts, methods, and approaches, we're looking at really the theory behind language. Okay, and we might look at some politics behind language. After I do a couple of things here, I want us to have a discussion for a bit about, just as a starter, what we think about how language is currently developing and who should be keeping up with the development of language. So analyze and synthesize language data from a variety of sources. Okay, so you need to be able to read different graphs, things like that. So, skip through this. So we are looking at 4 specialized subjects, okay? We've got language change, child language acquisition, English in the world, and language and the self. Okay. Actually, now would be a good time. I'm quickly going to create those sections in Google Classroom. Where was it? Because instead of using an old template, I decided to just create a whole new class for you guys. Oh my gosh. I'm just quickly creating this thing. I don't know why I'm typing it instead of copying and pasting it. Okay, cool. So, the skills that we require at A level are basically an expansion of our AS skills. So paper 3 is going to focus on skills and techniques related to analytical reading, while the emphasis on paper 4 is on discursive writing. So remember, for AS, I've pushed discursive writing quite a bit. And then for paper 3, it's all about analytical writing. So remember in paper 1, in the rubrics, in one of the rubrics it said, are you able to use the correct analytical language to explain what you're saying or something like that? Do you remember that?
I'm pretty sure I remember something like that.
Okay. So now, everything in these, like, that we've got here, this isn't an exhaustive list. This is something you need to know. The textbook does not have everything. There are always more theories you can look at. There are always more ideas you can look at, okay? But you need to know at least what is in the textbook. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, what you're expected to do is not just know the theories of how language changed, why language changed, how child language acquisition happens. You don't just need to know the theories, but you need to be able to understand them and actually look at a piece and say, okay, in this piece, this is how it played out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got language change. this is our section A. So let's look at our knowledge and understanding. So we need to know the chronology and essential features of the development of English language from early modern English to contemporary English. Okay? The concepts and terminology related to language change, the theories and theorists of language change, N-gram graphs representing changes in language use over time. Do you guys know what N-gram graphs are?
Yeah, I saw them on the past papers.
Okay, so
Honestly, they confuse me so much. The third one's kind of similar to what the past paper looks like.
yeah, I just want to look for. Oh, this is great. Didn't have this resource before.
Yeah, that's what I use Bastian for the AS. Like, there's also an AS version of that where they have like the candidate responses and then it's graded like A, B, C, D. And the examiner literally tells you like what the student could have done to improve it and stuff.
I don't have an AS1 for this exam set for examination from 2021. Can you send me the one you have?
I'll try and find it now and send it to you.
Thanks. Okay. So, I want to just show you how it looks. The photo was there. There we go. That is an N-gram graph. So it basically looks at the way that the word has been used over time. Okay. So over here they were using though, but now we are moving. That's going down in use, right? But I'm pretty sure that the use of though is increasing. Do you guys ever use the word though, T-H-O?
Sometimes, yeah.
Pardon?
Every now and then.
I'll try to see if I can find something. Okay, but anyway, that would be interesting to look at how the word though is increasing in popularity. Yeah. And I think it has to do with like typing language, but like what used to happen is we used to use SMS language because we had limited characters that we could use. And then we went to using to like typing more on like QWERTY keyboards, and we were typing everything out in full, and now we almost ironically use SMS language. You know what I mean? Do you guys get that? Do you guys agree?
Oh, I do agree.
So these are things we're going to explore. We're going to explore why do we do things? Why does language change? How has it changed? Like someone said to me, like yesterday, they said, "I like your drip," and for a moment there, I was like, "What the hell are you saying?" Anyway, so I just looked at his body language and I looked at the fact that I looked fabulous. And so I concluded that it must mean that he likes my general vibe and like the stuff I'm oozing. So probably I look cool or he likes my style. I did confirm it with the Google search later, but the point is that language develops in that way. So even my son, who's 5, he plays games and he watches a lot of like people streaming and stuff, and he says to me, "I'm such a hacker at this game." And that's something that's developed. That's language that has developed over time. And so it's easy for us to understand the development of a language today, but we need to apply that to the past as well, right?
Yeah.
So if we look at Shakespeare, I don't know how many thousands of words Shakespeare invented, or used first.
I think it was only like 2000 in the beginning, and then eventually it came like phrases and stuff with the poetry.
Yeah, okay, I'm not going to deep dive into that right now, but yeah, Shakespeare had a lot of things that he was the first one to use it, and so it has changed the way we use language. Simple things like bump. Shakespeare brought that into being. Then we've got a bumper. Then we've got a bumper bashing. All of these things build onto each other. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay, then we've got word tables derived from corpus data. So corpus data is basically just like your base data. So you've got collocate lists. I don't actually know how to say this. I've always said it in my head. Collocate. I'm not sure.
That's how I'd say it.
Let's see.
Collocate.
Collocate, yes.
Collocate.
Okay, so if it is... Okay, I'm not going to get into it. You guys... Okay, then we've got our skills that we need to know. We need to be able to research in the field of language change. We need to be able to analyze unseen text as exemplars of certain aspects of language change. We need to be able to interpret and analyze n-gram graphs and corpus data relating to language change. Okay? We need to be able to contextualize our findings alongside relevant theories and concepts relating to language change. So this is a studying subject. This is an understanding subject. If you do not work very, very hard at the subject, you will fail. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. Synthesizing their responses to a range of language data in a coherent and analytical essay. So you need to be able to write a good essay. That is why I obsess all the time about people being able to write good essays. But yeah. So child language acquisition, these are included but not limited to the main stages of early development in child language acquisition. The different functions of children's language, theories and theorists of child language acquisition, the conventions and features of unscripted conversation and spoken language transcripts. The things we're going to need to know how to do, the skills we need to have, are researching in the field of child language acquisition. So research is a very big thing. Okay? You are each going to research... do a research project, okay, on each of these topics. That's actually a good idea. Do you guys know how to write research essays?
No.
I want to say yes, but I mean, if I don't, I can always just, research that and then do it.
Okay. Well, I want you guys to okay, I'll set the assignments when everyone is in class and stuff like that. Okay. So I'm going to set you research assignments for that. Analyzing unseen text as exemplars of certain aspects of language change. So similar to, no, that is it. That we've just done that one. Analyzing spoken language transcripts. So those are also unseen as exemplars of certain aspects of child language acquisition. So we're going to be given a script, basically a transcript of what happened in a conversation, and we need to be able to analyze it, talk about it. We need to be able to read any phonetic symbols in there, So you guys will need to know your phonetic alphabet. Do you know what a phonetic alphabet is?
Yeah. Well, I just call it the like baby version of alphabet. It's usually just like A, B, A instead of like using the capital version of it. It's more just sound based.
This is what I'm talking about. Do you know all of these?
I'll go ahead and say most of them.
Okay.
But those ones right there, I don't know.
Okay. So we need to know our phonetic alphabet. I will give you links to that as time goes by, but you should be finding them. That's something that you should have learned in primary school at some point. If you didn't, I'm sorry. I didn't either. I only found out when I was at university I was supposed to have learned it at school. We need to contextualize our findings alongside relevant theories and concepts relating to child language acquisition. We need to synthesize these theoretical considerations into coherent analytical essay. Do you see? Again, we are basically just needing to write an analytical essay. Like our text analysis, that was an analytical essay. And we need to be able to take all of the theories and analyze the text and apply the theories to it. So instead of applying the effect of language, form, and structure, we are applying the theoretical meanings, why according to the theories, why things happened. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Then paper 4 is these are our language topics, okay? So we've got our English in the world in our section A, and section B is language and the self. Okay. So English in the world is about the historical development of English as a global language. Okay. Then we've got varieties of English and relevant ethical considerations. So tell me, when someone talks, okay, so like a boomer might talk in one way, and Gen Z might talk in a different way. Just give me a sec. So everyone, like different generations, like speak in different ways, right?
Yeah, they do.
Okay. So you guys probably know what drip means, or no cap, and I don't know if you can think of other examples. Let's go see what some of my students might have messaged me. Let's check. Okay, no, that was lame. I thought I'd have something interesting to say about that. I don't know, so if you think of no cap, drip, stuff like that, all of this builds into something that maybe my mom or my dad or my grandparents wouldn't understand what you're saying, right? And so does that mean that my parents' English is more English than your English, than like Gen Z English?
I'd say no, but then again, they're more into like the recent form of English, the younger generation versus the older version.
But every generation is more into the most recent English.
Well, if they don't understand new terminologies that, Gen Z is not brought into the English language, then they're not really...
They're going to struggle, but that's what's been happening with English over forever. Because English is a developing language. The moment a language is no, you cannot add to a language anymore, then it is a dead language. Did you know that?
Yeah.
So what defines a dead language is a language that cannot be added to. Okay? So English is a global language, and being a global language, okay, I just want to explore this for a moment, just get your minds thinking about this. So English being a global language, how did it get to that point? Why? How did that come about?
England,
Yeah, what about England?
colonization.
And they forced people to speak English. But I mean, how did English get to England? Like, how did English develop?
Would probably have developed from proto. I don't actually know how it might have developed.
Okay, we'll explore that. So the thing is, English developed over the years and has become a global language. And because of the fact that it is a global language, English ends up borrowing from all other languages, or not from all, from many different languages. And words that come from other languages become English words. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And so then it becomes English, and so it is this developing language. And that is why, even though, personally, I believe that this is why, even though more people actually speak Mandarin, English is a lot more open as a language than Mandarin. And therefore it has more potential to be a global language. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because every different culture has something new to add. They've got a new idea that there might not be an English idea for, right? For instance, in English, the term non-binary is quite new, right? Well, non-binary when we're talking about gender. That's a very new thing, right? However, different countries, different cultures, different languages have had different words for that concept for centuries. But in English, we didn't have the words for it. Now we've got the words for it, and it's making people angry. So, the point is that English has developed as a global language, and it's going to continue to develop as a global language. And because of that, there are going to be different varieties of English. Okay? I'm just connecting these ideas for you. Okay? Now, with the different varieties of English, we also need to be aware of some ethical considerations. Okay? So, as people move towards English, they move away from their own languages. And languages are intrinsically linked to cultures. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So languages are intrinsically linked to cultures, and so we are, like, in some ways, perhaps colonialism is still taking place, but just in a different form. You know what I mean? I just want to check who's... Okay, I'm not answering that. Okay. So, then the skills and techniques. Let's see if there's anything new. Critical understanding of unseen text relating to English in the world. Pertinent ideas and examples from the text. So we need to select and analyze. So this is all about, we do need to know what to select, okay? And again, we need to analyze. Remember, analysis is a very important thing. And then we need to relate all of these to theories, theorists, and studies from the wider research in the relevant topic area, okay? So each of these things, I would suggest you have a file, whether it's electronic or whatever, and you keep your notes together, okay? You keep things well organized. I used Obsidian for my notes. Obsidian is great. I have to go through it every now and then to just organize it again because it's a mess sometimes. But this is fun. You can go like this and it can show you. I don't know what to use it for really, but let's just show you again. I don't know, there it is. So those are all my notes and how they're connected.
It sure looks quite cool.
So I use Obsidian. It's cool because the problem I have with like Notion or OneNote is that it only works in that application. Whereas Obsidian uses Markdown, so I can write something in WhatsApp, copy it, and paste it directly into Obsidian. It takes the same format. I don't have to back anything up to the cloud. It's just like, it's basically like a text document. And so you can turn it into a PDF, you can export it, you can do whatever you want with it. So whatever you do, whatever you use, just use something. Okay. Then our next section is language and the self. So language and the self is all about how language allows us to communicate our sense of self to others, as well as playing a highly significant role in the ongoing construction, determination, and development of that self. Now, if we carry on with the non-binary thing, 50 years ago, it wasn't that there were no non-binary people, it was that there was no word for it, right? And so there was no way to explain how people were unable to explain their experience. They were not able to describe their sense of self to people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so what happens by using the word non-binary as like a gender idea, as a gender concept, is that it allows people to communicate themselves, communicate their sense of self, how they're feeling. And then we look at how important is this? Why is this important in terms of our experience? Okay? And so we're looking at innateness and learning, so behaviorism, innatism, nativism, and empiricism. So we are going to look at those concepts. The relationship between language and thought, so linguistic relativity and determinism, universalism, language of thought hypothesis. Have you ever had a thought that felt too big to describe or understand in words? I'm a concept person, so this happens to me all the time. It gives me an existential crisis. But has that ever happened to you?
Yeah, it has.
So, yeah, that is something we can explore. It's something we can talk about. The relationship between language and social identity. So, in terms of social identity, the language you use, how does that impact it? So, for instance, if I spoke in formal English, how would that impact the friends I can keep? The fact that I use no cap and, like, I use a lot of slang, that connects me to my students in some ways, and connects me to my children in some ways. But also, just very basically, I was born, like, my mother and father are both Afrikaans, but I only speak English. Like, I'll speak Afrikaans to them, but I speak English. And personally, the reason for that is because socially I identify as being English. While I can't speak Afrikaans, socially I am English because of the intrinsic connection between culture and language. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm giving a lot of examples today, I know. And then skills and techniques, again, exactly the same skills. So if we can build these skills, then we can figure out where we're going to go from there. So we're going to So I wanted you to just have a basic outline of everything that we're going to cover and where we're going to go. Okay? The basic structure of our lessons is going to be very conversational. We're going to be talking about a lot of things, and I'm going to expect 100% participation. Okay? You guys cannot be missing lessons unless you are like deathly ill. We have a lot to get through, and I don't know, when do you guys plan to write?
I think end of the year for me.
Yeah, end of the year.
So if you're writing at the end of the year, that is very, very intense in terms of how much time we're devoting to this. Okay? I could only fit 2 hours into my schedule a week, so I wasn't going to, I didn't have much interest in this, and then you guys were both suddenly giving the go-ahead, so I was like, let's do it. So yes, for our next lesson, okay, which is on Friday. I want you, let me just close this quickly. Just have to refresh this and see if that works. Sorry, my internet has been really wonky, and they're sending someone out at some point to fix it. Okay, it's not working right now, so I will send you guys a message in the chat to tell you about what I need for our next lesson, okay?
Alright.
I mean on WhatsApp, okay? Cool. I will see you guys on Friday then, okay? At 2 o'clock.
Yes.